Book 101 review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He is the author of the book The In Between, no other than Mr. Christian Espinosa. Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Christian. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Sure. Thanks for the intro, Daniel. I'm Christian Espinosa. I've written a couple books. The In Between Life in the Micro is my latest published book. I'm still working on a couple new ones that'll be out in about 3 or 4 months. And I have been an entrepreneur for most of my life. I've been involved with personal development for quite a bit of my life. And I built and sold one cybersecurity business. I'm currently running another one right now called Blue Goat Cyber, which we focus on medical device cybersecurity so we make sure medical devices are secure from hackers. So I've lived a pretty adventurous life. I almost died from blood clots about 2 years ago, and uh, that kind of reignited my passion to help secure medical devices. Because if it wasn't for a medical device, I wouldn't be here today.
Mr. Christian Espinosa, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge to the world. What does the in law between life refers to the context of this book?
The In Between Life in the Micro, I would describe it as a focused memoir where it's about my life where I feel like I've got things right and I've also gotten them wrong. Probably more times I've gotten them wrong. And it's really about, for me and a lot of people similar, uh, it's often easy to get hyper focused on like a big goal or a macro level goal. So in the past, and even still some now, I have to work on this. I would get so hyper focused on a really big goal, like climbing a big mountain or finishing an Ironman triathlon or starting and selling a business, that I let things right in front of me, which I call those micro moments. I let them sort of like fall apart. And this could be a relationship. So I didn't pay attention to what was right in front of me because I just had these blinders on going after this big goal. And I justified it thinking, as long as I get that goal, it's okay to sacrifice things along the way because the goal is all that matters. But what I realized when I got to that big goal, often I was there by myself. I had no one to share the journey with because I, destroyed those relationships and messed up my health and wealth and a few other things. So the book is about finding that balance and paying attention to what's right in front of you and showing up with some intention.
So, Mr. Christian, how does the micro level of life shape our overall experiences?
I think ultimately life is a culmination of our decisions, and how we feel in life is related to how we feel on a by minute basis. I don't think at the end of the day we can feel crappy the whole day, then feel great at the end, maybe. But I think it's important to have some awareness and some intentionality about the moment right in front of me. What can I do to make this moment a awesome moment? So an example for me is if I'm going to dinner with my wife now and I decide to have a great dinner. Like the purpose is for us to connect and have an awesome time together. That like, this might what could be considered a micro moment. That if the waiter like drops something or gets the order wrong or spills something on me, I'm not gonna let it derail the evening because I've showed up with some intentionality in that moment to make sure that the moment goes the way I want it to go. So I think that's important as well. We otherwise you sort of fall victim to circumstance.
Very well said, Mr. Christian. Very well said. So, what are some examples of in between moments that often go unnoticed?
I think one of them is like I mentioned, just going out to dinner with somebody. Uh, you may not think it's an in between moment, but it's often in between what you're trying to accomplish and where you were, and even something as simple as being present will really add value to that meal. Because I know in today's world everyone is like glued to their cell phone, and I have a rule: if I'm out to dinner with my wife or someone, that we don't text on our cell phone the whole time. We actually talk to each other and we're actually present. And when you're present, that means you're not thinking about anything else. You're with that person, and that makes that person feel appreciated and understood, which enhances your relationships. Because if they do the same with you, it makes you feel appreciated, understood, which translates into a more fulfilling life. Because in that moment, that might be between running errands or whatever, the in between moment, you're actually feeling good about your life, and you're connecting with somebody, and it's very intentional. It's not circumstantial, as I alluded to before.
So, Mr. Christian, let's talk about philosophical and psychological perspectives. How does mindfulness relate to the experiencing the in between moments of life?
I think we have to be mindful in order to show up with some intention. I think one of the challenges in our society, and it was a challenge for me in the past, is most of us know what we don't want in life, but we don't know what we do want. And through that lens or that mindset, it's hard to show up with intentionality. Uh, and I think it's important to figure out what we do want in life, because then when you're in those small moments, you can add the value, you can observe more, and you if you show up curious, those small moments, you might realize, at least for me, that in the past, if I would have paid more attention to those small micro moments, I would have figured out sooner that this big goal I'm going after isn't really that important anymore. Because if I'm having a fulfilling relationship right in front of me, and I'm not as fulfilled going after this big goal, then why am I chasing this big goal? As example, if it's to finish like an Ironman triathlon or something, at the expense of what's right in front of me. So I think that mindset shift, which is, I'm not saying you don't like just stop and smell all the roses, because that's not very intentional. I'm saying you still chase a big goal, but you pay attention to what's right in front of you with some intentionality behind it.
So, Mr. Christian, what role does patience play in appreciating life's micro moments?
What role does patience play?
Yes.
Patience plays a critical role. I'm not a very patient person, but I have to think. I have to think about what I want out of that micro moment, and this is about that intentionality as well. So if I'm in the moment, and this happens a lot, if I'm like waiting in line somewhere, and I'm with my wife, and I want us to have a pleasant experience, I'm not very patient. So most of the time, in the past, I would just get frustrated and say, "Let's just go somewhere else," and get angry about it, right? But now I'm thinking, what is the big deal? I'm here with my wife. We're healthy. Uh, we can afford to buy something at this restaurant. So why am I freaking out about this? And why am I being impatient? So again, that's a mindset shift. It's thinking, what is the end result I want out of this moment right now? And the end result is often not to get frustrated because I'm impatient. And that's just one example. So I think patience definitely comes into play, uh, because I'm a very impatient person. So for me, it's something I've really had to work on, because when I get frustrated and impatient, it doesn't go well for my relationship, because she can sense the tension and the upsetness of me and the anger.
Yes. Count your blessing first, people,
Yes.
before you complain. So, Mr. Christian, how can embracing the in between help people to find more meaningful in life?
I think embracing the in between forces you to have some presence. I believe in our life today, most people kind of live in a zombie state. I look at my window here and I see people walking their dogs, and they're glued to their phone. They don't even know what the dog is doing. It's like the dog is actually walking them. I see people pass each other. They don't even look at each other. So they're not present like in nature, which is right outside my window. They're looking at their phone. They're not present with their friends. They're on their phone. So I think, and that's just one example. Having that presence will help you in the in between moments, uh, and it'll help you really like figure out what you want to do in your life. Because when you pay more attention and you're present, you show up differently than if you're sort of checked out and going through the motions.
Certainly. So, how does the book challenge the traditional view of success and fulfillment?
I I think for me the it's been a lot of unraveling for me. I think a book should be transformational to the author as well as anybody that reads it. Uh, what I used to associate success with was achievements. So okay, I'm successful if I do an Ironman triathlon, if I climb this mountain, if I make this much money, if I build this business and sell it. It's all kind of external things. And when I started thinking about that in the book, when I was writing the book, I realized that success to me is being content with who I am, uh, and content in my relationship, my health, my wealth. It's me being okay with who I am, which includes like if I'm in a room with people that are quote more successful than me, I don't freak out about it. I'm okay with it because they may be more successful in business or whatever, but I feel like success is a very individual thing and we need to define it ourselves and not let society define it for us. Unfortunately, we live in a world where uh, society does a great job at defining what success is versus us coming up with it for ourselves.
Certainly. So, let's talk about science and spirituality of the micro. How does neuroscience explain the power of small moments in shaping our emotions?
Well, with neuroscience, and I've studied neurolinguistic programming quite a bit. I'm certified as a master practitioner in that. I think one of the things to understand is how we feel in a specific moment determines how we act. And there's a step before that. It's like what we think determines how what we feel, which determines how we act or how we our behavior. So in a small moment, if we can think about, like you said earlier, maybe some gratitude versus complaining, that'll automatically make you feel different. Like, there's a lot of studies on gratitude that if you're grateful for something, you feel more positive, which enhances your experience with the people around you, but also positions you in a better place to make wiser decisions. I think, like when I have a gratitude journal, I use a 5 minute journal. When I consistently write in that journal every morning, I start my day off better. So I think about what I'm grateful for. I write it down. Then I start feeling grateful for it. And I think this is the thing a lot of people don't understand. They want to feel something before they think it. But I think I believe it's the opposite. If you think about something intentionally, like you think of a moment in your life where you're happy, then you're going to start feeling happy. And then when you're feeling happy, you're going to make better decisions because you have a sense of abundance and a sense of like enjoying life more than feeling like the weight of the world on your shoulders, which when you feel that way or ungrateful, you're not going to make very good decisions.
Certainly. Totally agree, Mr. Christian. So, how do cultural belief influence how people view the micro moments of life?
Well, with cultural belief, I've noticed I've traveled the world a lot. I've been to probably 75 countries, and some of the poorest by traditional standards, the poorest countries I've been to, the people are the happiest.
True.
So I and they are most in tune with the small moments in front of them, such as having breakfast together with their family or going for a walk or whatever. And it's ironic because in the United States, we like to try to think everyone should be like us. But United States is like the most depressed country on the planet, and we have the most, quote success and most money. Not that compared to every country, but in relative comparison. So it's not. I think I don't think it's about money and chasing big goals, which makes you fulfilled. It's about those small moments, like, which I've witnessed in these countries. I remember going to Belize. There's a family of like 7 in a small hut, and they were like completely happy. They were very fulfilled. You could tell they were just genuinely nice people that were appreciative, uh, kind, loving family, and they were just focused on what was right in front of them. Whereas the United States and a lot of other westernized countries, we're so wrapped up in keeping up with the Joneses or going after this thing or getting this new car, and we think we'll be happy once we get that thing or that new job or that raise or that house. But you can't chase happiness, or you can't chase fulfillment. You got to find it within, which is what those people in Belize did.
True, money can buy luxury things, but not happiness, people. Not everything money can buy. So, how do small everyday interactions contribute to overall happiness and well being?
Well, a story for me is about 20, I think 20 years ago, I was going through a divorce, and I was like kind of messed up in a really bad place. And I remember I was at the grocery store. A woman was checking me out, like scanning the items. And I guess you could tell I was in a bad state because I just didn't seem right. She actually stopped scanning the groceries, looked me in the eye, and asked if I was okay. So it was like a simple gesture, but it changed my world, and it I still remember it today, um, because it showed me like somebody actually took a moment out of their life to ask me how I was doing, and this was a genuine thing. It wasn't small talk, and I felt like okay, I'm people actually care in the world, and I just felt connected more when she did that. So that's a very easy thing to do, and it can have a big impact on somebody. Just a simple smile or hello or how are you doing in a micro moment, but we often just think about ourselves and don't take that moment to do something. I mean, a smile does not take that much energy or that small gesture like that woman did, but it had a massive impact on my life.
True. Very true, Mr. Christian. And what would be your short term and long term goals in writing?
My short term goal is to finish my next book, which is about the story we tell ourselves. And if the story you're telling yourself isn't serving you, how to change that story. It's really about like how I've done that in my life. So that's the short term goal is to get that book done in the next 3 months. My long term goal is with my writing is to leave a body of work that outlasts my life that hopefully people will find beneficial and be able to improve their own life from my mistakes. Like the next book is more of a focused memoir as well, where I'm just telling my story and what I've learned, hoping that somebody who reads it can identify with certain aspects and learn things faster than I did because I did it the hard way, and I read a lot of books myself, but sometimes I have to just go through the pain in order to have the lesson learned. It seems like.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Christian. And what will be your advice for those people out there to want to live to the micro moments in their life?
The advice for someone wanting to live in the micro moment is to realize I'm not suggesting you give up on your chasing your big goals. It's really to show up with some intentionality. And some of that intentionality requires awareness. So developing awareness about yourself and about the world around you and realizing not everybody is like you, that your spouse, your friends, your family, your coworkers, your strangers have a different model of the world and being curious. I think one of the biggest things is to be curious and not judgmental. We like to judge other people for not believing what we believe, but I think if you're curious from a place of genuine curiousness, you can ask questions, learn more about yourself, learn more about that person, and really, I think, get to understand the world better and yourself better. And I think that'll help you live a more fulfilled life.
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Christian. I hope people will follow it. So, how can slowing down and embracing the micro help with stress and anxiety?
For me, it's helped with stress and anxiety a lot because if I'm walking outside, for instance, and I'm intentional and I'm paying attention to like yesterday, I was walking outside and there's like these beautiful like white puffy clouds, and that's a micro moment thing. But I was just thinking, I just took a moment intentionally and thought, I'm just going to stand here and look at the clouds for a while, and I just felt like more at peace, more grounded. Because yeah, I had a lot of work things to do, and I could have just rushed back to my office. But I thought, this is something that I noticed this cloud. I might as well just look at it and enjoy it. And it really helped calm me down because for me, I have a million things going through my brain. But sometimes if I just like the cloud example, or looking at an animal in the woods, or whatever it is, it it makes me feel grounded and like I'm part of something bigger, like the world I'm trying to accomplish with business and books. That's one small sliver of the big piece of the world. But if you take the time to notice there's something bigger out there, I think for me, it's very calming.
Certainly. Totally agree, Mr. Christian. But before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, Food 101. It's fifth season, people, fifth season with Chef Alessandro, one of the specialty chef in one of the five-star hotel in downtown Toronto. Please do listen to our latest episode. We are reading our letter senders all over the world. So, Mr. Christian, what are the key takeaway from this book can be applied immediately to everyday life?
The key takeaway is to put some time into understanding what you want in a moment in life. If that moment is dinner, if it's how you're going to interact with a stranger, if it's how you're going to show up at the checkout counter at a grocery store, it doesn't really matter. These small moments. Think about how you want to show up. And then when you're in that moment, behave the way you said you wanted to show up. And it'll shape your life in a way that is not circumstantial. It's by your own design.
Totally, totally empowering book. Mr. Christian Espinosa, thank you so much for sharing the in between to the world, and we are looking forward for more empowering books like this. So can you please invite our listeners to support your book?
Yeah, the listeners can get my book on Amazon.com. It's also on Audible.com. I had Callio Griffith narrate it. He did a couple of Tim Ferriss's books, and yeah, my new books will be on Amazon as well, and Audible.
Yes, you are most welcome to come back on Book 101 review and let's talk about it, Mr. Christian. So, people, let's support Mr. Christian Espinosa because if you support him, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Christian, thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, Daniel. Appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.